I was on Guns Coast to Coast's live stream. I was watching it, and it got took down a little bit ago for violating community standards. And I don't know what in the heck they tried to pull and tried to say that he violated. I'm kind of intrigued, um, but I think they're really throttling his uh, channel with some stuff. But I mean, I like his. I don't agree with everything that he says, um, but I like what I like about his channel is he just really doesn't give a crap. Um, and he has his opinions, and if you want to listen, you can listen, and if you don't want to listen, then you can just go wherever. But golly, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at here. And I did have a cat on my shoulder there a minute ago, but she's a camera shy apparently, and I'm just here, and I'm gonna see if anybody pops on. I don't know really what all I'm gonna talk about, but he might have been right. Not. What do you think? People got all kinds of this conspiracy stuff with Alex Jones. Uh, hey, but I was just talking about you. What the heck happened to your channel, man? Um, what they trying to say? uh, but I, I didn't hear anything that sounded off kilter. I'm kind of curious uh, why they kicked you off. Uh, I mean, I'm telling you, we need to start adding a dollar here or there to the old Alex Jones was right jar. And yeah, so I told you all. uh, yeah, I mean that is kind of ironic that you were talking about the. Uh, they have been pretty easy on me, but I don't. I mean, well, I don't make enough stuff. I'm such a small guy. YouTube world, I'm probably not even worth their time mostly, unless I get into the whole COVID stuff, and then they delete my videos and get me in trouble. But yeah, it is kind of funny that yeah, yeah, that's right, right in the middle of it, and it's kind of funny. We were just talking about you getting throttled and all of that, and then they just yank you off. Oh, golly. Yeah, this tech in general, uh, most of them, it's a bit ridiculous. Um, that's what with the news and everything. It's just freaking crazy. Uh, Give me a spinner. But it's yeah. All right, man. I'm gonna hang on here for a little bit. I don't really know what I'm gonna get into. Absolutely, gotta keep it up. Uh, gotta keep up the fight. I mean, whether we win or lose, and that's what I'll go. I guess I'll ramble on about for a minute. It's like the Constitution, and I'll talk about it. And guns coast to coast. He kind of mentioned how he's really not a constitution, but I think that the Constitution as it was originally written going on. And if we could get back to that, we'd be in a lot better shape. But ultimately, I don't think we're going to get back to any semblance of the constitutional republic that we once had. So, what I'm worrying on is what comes next. What comes next? And is that, is that a totalitarian regime? Is that a balkanization of this country? Honestly, I think as things are going, I think a balkanization. Hey man, how are you getting along? First one shot. We're talking about Alex Jones, man. Well, actually, we're not, but I'm not. I'm kind of just rambling on. I don't really know what all I'm talking about, but I think like balkanization, the way that this country's going, as much as there's a lot of negatives to it, I think it's coming, and I think it's going to be better than living under a totalitarian regime for everybody. But whatever, but I think I think that's what's coming, at least for a time. And we can use the left-right paradigm. The Republican states seem to be getting more Republican, and the Democrat states seem to be getting more Democrat, unless there's like a mass exodus, like what's happening in Texas. Like a mass exodus of people from places like New York and California, and in that case, they're kind of flipping. Absolutely. I think a peaceful breakup would be ideal. Now, I don't know that that would happen. And you got places like I'm in West Virginia, of course, and we have our places that are more left leaning, to use that paradigm for people. We've got places like Huntington. Huntington is just a liberal cesspool, or a leftist cesspool. It's a college town. Oh yeah, they need our tax revenue, but that's what's going on in places like California. Like I've got a buddy I was in the Navy with, who's him and his whole family. Like his granddad was one of the founders of the Hells Angels. Like that's how long his family's been out in California, and they've had to move and clear across the freaking country because they could not afford to live in California anymore. I'm not going to tell you where they moved, but they moved. They moved a ways from me, but a lot closer than they were. I'll say that. But they moved because they couldn't afford to live there. Yeah, Parkersburg is, and I am somewhat near Parkersburg and Charleston. Like honestly, it's kind of pretty close to halfway for me, and I try and avoid both of those places when I don't have to go to either one of them. And yeah, Parkersburg. Like I just heard the other day, or no, it's back I think in October during like Halloween time, and the Shriners, the Shriners building put on a family friendly drag queen show. drag queen event or whatever it was. And you know, I don't agree with this whole drag queen nonsense, but you know, if you want to be a grown man, oh, absolutely. But if you want to be a grown man and wear dresses and put on makeup and all that, then that's your business. But when you bring kids into it, that's where I've got the problem. And I have no idea. I didn't go anywhere near it. I knew it was, especially with what I've got going on in my life, I knew that if I went there, there was a good chance that I was going to say something that might get me, yeah, might get me in a little bit of trouble. And yeah, especially with what I got going on in my life. Oh, absolutely not. That ain't for kids. For anybody who's just coming on, my voice doesn't normally sound like this. I've got a little bit of the croup. Uh, but seems like this time of year, me and my brother both wind up bringing something, getting something brought home from our work. Um, but anyway, yeah, that junk is not for kids. It is not, and you know, so you've got places in West Virginia that are crap holes. Oh, I agree. I don't want to look at it either, but I'm absolutely in the position that, you know, and I heard this on the radio show and it really kind of stuck with me. It was, hey, Jim Survival, how are you? I'm getting over the croup right now, so, but I'm on the mend. Um, but I definitely don't want to see it, but and like I said, I heard this on a radio show and it kind of has stuck with me. The guy said that you know in America, everybody has the right to go to hell in their own way, and people want to concentrate on the has the right, but they don't concentrate too much on the going to hell part. Um, but but you know, if you want to do that, I don't want to see it. Don't force it down my throat and keep it away from my kids, which you know, or my nephews. You know, I don't have any kids right now, but you know, keep it away from my nephews, and you know, I'll you know say, hey, you know what, you have the right to do your own thing. Just leave me be, and leave the kids be. But I mean, you can't tell. Well, I do too. You know, I was a bit of a drunkard at one point in my life, but that might probably my biggest one. I drank way too much alcohol back when I was overseas. That was my big thing, but and I will fully admit to that. Um, but I haven't taken a drink and it's been months. Um, you know, and I very rarely drank for years, even before that. But golly, you know. But I mean, we've all got our own sins to deal with, and I'm not passing like these people that are into this drag queen stuff like their sin is any worse than the sins that I've committed in my life. But you know, with my sins, let's say drinking, you know, the amount that I did used to drink, I would never even consider going up to a little 6 or 7 year old kid and saying, "Hey, bud, how about a shot?" Like I never would have even crossed my mind. Like even when I smoke, which I don't really smoke anymore, tobacco. I never smoked any of the other stuff that people smoke, but you know, even then, like I was very adamant about avoiding kids when I was smoking and not getting any of that smoke in their face heading towards them. Um, right. I mean, it seems like common sense. We've all got our own crap that we're dealing with, and that we do as adults, and thoroughly flawed people, whether we be whatever faith we are, Christian, not whatever. We've all got our own crap, but we're supposed to, especially with kids, we're supposed to be a better example. We're supposed to say, like, don't do this stuff, right? We're not supposed to. The Bible says that if anyone causes these little ones to sin, it'd be better in the day of judgment for them to have been had a big old millstone tied around their neck and tossed into the sea. And I truly believe that that's the case. With my nephews, even with, and I don't think that there's anything morally wrong. Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything morally wrong with tobacco use, or alcohol use, as long as it's done with restraint. I don't have any problem. Like, I still will, I have no problem with having a beer or a little bit of a liquor or anything like that on the case. I haven't here in a good while because I know how to control it, and I know that kind of in where I am in my life right now, it's probably not a good idea to even have it in the house. Right? Yeah. Oh, this horrible for your health. Now, no worse than no worse than the epidemic, which I have been a part of and am getting myself out of. I've dropped about 100 pounds in the last 3 months, but no worse than that. But if this is going to be my vice, which I may quit again once I get through all this. It's just so expensive. Like, not even the health effects. It's just such an expensive habit to have. But right now, when I started back, it was kind of when my marriage was falling apart. Yeah, I've lost about 100 pounds thus far, and I've got probably about another 100 to go to be where I want to be. Um, and when I want to get back down to about 225. 225 was a healthy weight for me. I was up at about like 450. Yeah, I've been doing this that keto diet, and I'm telling you, there was it slowed down. Which, when you're so ridiculously overweight, yeah, yeah. When you're just so ridiculously overweight, once you start losing it, just seems like it comes off. It just falls off, and then once you start getting back down to a better weight, oh, okay, yeah. Probably the smallest I ever was I weighed 208 pounds in, like, right when I got out of boot camp, and I looked like skeletal. I looked like Skeletor. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us in America. Like, we could all stand to probably lose a couple of pounds. But yeah, when I weighed 208, I looked like Skeletor. But when I went to boot camp, I weighed about 225, and I was in pretty good shape. Like, I still looked like I was a big guy. I'm just a naturally big guy. Um, and golly, but yeah, it's like it slowed down for me. But there for a good while, it was like I was having to put a new notch on my belt like every week, like an inch. I was taking like an inch off of my belt, like every single week. So that was pretty cool. It kind of stinks that it slowed down, Uh, and I was like, man, if I keep at this rate, man, I'll be down to this, and it's like, and then it just slowed down. Um, but I mean, where I work, I'm on my feet all day. Yeah, I have no idea how that happened, honestly, because I wasn't starving myself. Um, I was doing the carbs, that keto carb, like keto is just hipster Atkins. Like I did Atkins before. That's how I lost a lot of weight to go in the military. I lost about 80 pounds to go in the military back when I was like 18 years old. And and that's what I did. I was doing that and I was working out every day. Um, and but it wasn't near as fast as that. Oh yeah, like we eat a lot out of boredom. Yeah, I could see that. Um, and if you do any research on what our foods are, yeah, I figured that's what you meant for first one shot. Like, I figured that's what you meant. Um, but yeah, we eat a lot out of just pure boredom, and that's the thing. Since I haven't been bored, there's been stuff to do, and I've been cleaning up the place and reorganizing. It's like you see all this stuff on the wall that wasn't there, um, all of that. So it's like I haven't been bored. Um, been working on trying to better myself and all that. Um, but yeah, with food, like you do some research into you're, what you're putting on your plate. All the processed food, like all the chemicals and stuff they put in it. Yeah. No, I could never. If I had been an office worker when I started putting on all that weight, um, I would probably have died already because I'd have been like 600 pounds. Um, kind of in the position that I was, and this is not an excuse. It's just what it was. I was just miserable in my life and my marriage and everything else, and I got tired of being the only one who ever cooked anything, and then always hearing something bad about what I cooked. So I said, you know what? You want to bring home your, chicken nuggets? You can just bring home chicken nuggets or whatever it was. And so I was eating fast food a lot. Like I said, I just got fed up with my situation. And, if I didn't work in a job where I was very physically active, I mean, I'm on my feet all day. I'm on my feet all day, walking around, moving stuff, picking stuff up. Like have a pretty active job, and if I had been working in an office, I probably would have been 600 pounds by the time this all went to pot. Uh, okay, I am not okay. So, sweet country girl. Okay, is that your full title or um, the the little emojis kind of threw me off a little bit. uh, but yeah, the chemical, like your Doritos and stuff. Look at some of the stuff that's in that and the red dye. I mean, this whole society is just set up to poison us. Uh, it seems like, and you know, it's easy to see how we've all allowed ourselves to get out of shape, just the way that the world is. Um, Food is just so convenient for us. You just go to, oh, I'm just out here living my life, I guess. Uh, oh, yeah, a lot of sodium. But it's like you talk about sodium. I mean, and you look at like what Asian or Asian cuisine, Oriental, whatever, um, whatever the term be, and they use soy sauce for a lot. And there is a lot of friggin' soy sauce, or a lot of salt in soy sauce. It's insane. Like even the low sodium, I think a serving of it had like 800 milligrams of sodium. And they cook with that a lot. You know, there's a lot. There's not. There's like where I was at in Japan. There weren't really any overweight Japanese people. Yeah, yeah, MSG. Um, there's a internet guy, this kind of comedian, his Uncle Roger, I think his title, and he's like, "Oh, MSG, no, like it's horrible for you." Um, but like I'm thinking about when I was in Japan, it's like the Japanese they smoked a lot and they ate a lot of stuff that was high in sugar, high in or not high in sugar, high in sodium. A lot of stuff that was high in sodium, and a lot of the stuff that I mean, they ate a lot of fresh stuff too, but they ate a lot of fried stuff. Like, and yet they were all skinny. They were all in shape. It's kind of weird, right? But now they did not have quite the addiction to sugar. Like you look up U.S., like we put sugar on stuff there should not be sugar in. Like sugar does not belong in cornbread, people. I'm telling you. Oh yeah, they walk a lot. Like I walked a lot when I was there. Um, but they walk a lot, and they're and I've actually heard one thing because they're for the amount of people that smoke over there, their mouth and throat cancer is way lower than it actually should be. Like, yeah, we do. We use sugar as a preservative, um, but they drink a lot of that green tea, and so there's kind of a correlation between the amount of tea and stuff that they drink, and the antioxidants that are in that, as far as their health is concerned. Um, and it's like I got buddies that when their kids went to school out there, um, yeah, we probably do. We probably do put extra chemicals in the cigarettes. Um, it's like with the water. Um, like Japanese city water is probably the best city water that I've ever drank, and I mean it really was good water. Like didn't really have a big chemical taste to it. I really don't know what all they did with it, but I do know that fluoride is illegal to put into their water. Like it's illegal in Japan to put fluoride in the water. Oh goodness. But so we don't. Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have any restrictions on that here in the U.S. We just dump it, which is just yeah, yeah, and it's basically chemical waste. And I can't remember what manufacturing process fluoride comes from that we just dump in our water. But I mean, it's not good for you. Oh, very smart of them. They're like I really like the Japanese people. Like there was some stuff I didn't necessarily think was too keen on, but like the people were really good people that I met. Um, and there's a lot of things that they do that make sense. They were a lot healthier than we are here. Um, and yeah, now you were talking about like they eat a lot of fish and they eat a lot of rice, and I mean that's absolutely the truth. And the fish that they were eating was like the freshest fish. Of course, I was right next to the ocean, And, but the fish that you would eat at a restaurant there, it had been caught that night. It was like it was sitting on the dock that morning, and that was good food there. And they didn't eat near as much as we do either. Um, yeah, very respectful people, and very, very, yeah, just like friendly isn't necessarily the word, but they did like, they were a very respectful people. Like I'd had, if I'd get lost in certain parts, like there would be locals that would just go out of my way. Yes, it is, and I can't hardly eat fish anymore because of just I kind of got spoiled. Like unless it's fresh, like trout or bass, I can't really. I'm not a big fish guy because I learned what fresh fish tasted like, and so uh, but yeah, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. The oh, of course not. But oh yeah, I was gonna tell you this story. So we went on a camping trip while I was in Japan, and so we're all sitting around the fire, and like I was the only guy that brought beer, and I brought like one 12 pack of Budweiser, and there was a bunch of us, and I'm being friendly, I'm sharing it all. Oh, absolutely. Yep. They helped me out when I was lost. I mean, Um, they'd go out of their way to try and get you on the right bus schedule or wherever. Um, but yeah, some of the other guys had went to this campground's little store and had bought all the beer that they had, and it was not enough. So they're like, well, we're gonna go walk, however many kilometers or miles it was to go find a convenience store to buy more beer, right? And this random guy, there like three or four of them walking down the road, and this random guy they did not know pulled over and asked them, where they're going, and just gave them a ride and drove them to the convenience store, like a mile or two down the road, and then drove them back and dropped them off at our campsite. And the guy wouldn't even have a beer. Like he was just like, oh no, we tried to offer him food and beer and everything else, and but he was just like, just a random stranger, just helping guys out. Like we wouldn't even let him give him any money for gas or anything. That's just what he was, just being nice. Um, and and of course, I had very good interactions with the people over there. Some of the other countries I've been in, I can't say that, but the Japanese were very good people. Uh, oh goodness. So we got anything else to talk about other than just this guy here? Just me swapping sea or rambling on about sea stories. Oh goodness. Uh, Goodness. Wonder if I got my coffee. Oh, absolutely. A real nice guy. uh, Goodness. My coffee is cold. Oh, and yeah, I've got several stories about people doing that kind of stuff. No, he did not. He did not. And he made it a point to say that that is a personal decision and he was not going to do that. Um, well, I'm glad you were able to get exempted from that. Um, yeah, he basically said, we all got stuck wearing masks for a little while. Um, yeah, there was some talk, but I think it was more people speculating on what he might do, and because he himself did get it, and his wife got it, and one of his sons, who does not work for the company, had gotten it, and there was like two other guys in my company that I know of that got it, and and I was not alone in that, and I basically said that if he did ever mandate it, then I'd be looking for another job, and but he had the company called in for a meeting. He's like, I'm not going to mandate any more masks, which he'd never until that officially kind of got away with, said that there was no more mandate. Like we all just kind of quit wearing them. And he just didn't say anything. Um, but when you go from a company of about 30 guys, and then when we all come back and there's like 10 of us, 10 to 14 of us, and he can't get more guys to come back to work, you can kind of get away with some stuff. um, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, goodness. I know in West Virginia, I believe it's the Attorney General, he had people on staff specifically for employers mandating it, and all you had to do, call in the Attorney General's office, and they'd get to work for you. I can't speak about anywhere else because he was the Attorney General. He was very, very much against it being mandated. My One of the co-workers I work with, he did not get it, but his wife worked for the hospital, and they basically made her do it without making her do it. Of course, the hospitals around here are all owned by WVU Medicine, which is basically government-run healthcare. Uh, I'm sorry to hear that. Um, it's hopefully he was able to go find him a different job that did not require it. There have been a lot of people, like especially in the medical field, I know that have just gotten out of the medical field entirely. So you were ready to get fired, huh? Uh, yeah, I mean that's basically what they would. You got to fight this crap. Uh, people just went along with it. I mean, and I get it. If you've been in a place for like 20 years and it's turned into a good career, I get that it would be, yeah, big healthcare. Yeah, that's a different world. Uh, one that I am glad I'm not a part of, to be honest with you. And, good, because we need more people in the healthcare field that will not comply um, with any of this nonsense. It's like, the local hospital, which, like I said, is owned by WVU Medicine, which is the college, and it's a state college. So it's essentially government run healthcare. Um, you know, we get the worst of both worlds. Um, and they're still wearing masks at any point on the campus. Like anywhere you go, like they're still doing that. Like, because I know, yeah, it is. And I have watched some. I'm not an everyday Infowars guy, but I do occasionally watch or listen. I listen mostly while I'm at work to some of the stuff that Infowars puts out, some of their different shows. And they had a guy on who was a mortician who brought examples of that. And then also, I listened to Louder with Crowder some, or I watch their show on occasion. Uh, it's ridiculous that they are still requiring this whole masks thing. In my opinion, uh, it's just absolutely insane. Uh, yes, tyranny by corporations. I mean, they can get away with that kind of junk because they're a private entity, but they happen to have people you know, as lobbyists over here in over here in DC and trying to push this stuff. It's like, you know, seatbelt laws. I am so against seatbelt laws. Now, I think seatbelts are a great thing. Like seatbelts, you should wear your seatbelt if you're in the vehicle, right? But I'm against any law that says that I, as a grown man, must wear this thing that does not hurt. If I do not wear my seatbelt and I get in a wreck, it does not hurt the person who is in the other vehicle. The only thing it would do is potentially make it till I would die. Absolutely, they're in lockstep. But when like seatbelts, when they made these things a law, it was your insurance companies that were pushing for the law to be instated. West Virginia has more deer-related accidents in automobiles than any other state in the union. And you can look that up. That's a fact, or at least it was a fact last I checked, which was a couple years ago. And I don't look for it to change. Now, all of a sudden, and I'm not complaining because I get to kill more deer. Um, well, I'm glad. I'm glad someone else agrees with me other than my immediate family. Uh, uh, but they have expanded out so you can kill so many more deer, and you can basically kill anything. And I don't disagree with that, but who's pushing for all of that? It's not the DNR. They want to lower the whitetail population, and it's not the DNR that necessarily wants to do that. It's your auto insurance companies that are lobbying to get rid of the deer problem. um, there's so many examples of that kind of nonsense. It's like, and I can't remember fluoride. I can't remember what the industry is that creates fluoride, but it's kind of weird that we get this company that's these people that are making this, and they have this toxic waste that they have to figure out what to do with, and all of a sudden, oh well, we can, they did a study, and I think it's like 7 or 8 per person right now. Yeah, I think it's like 7 or 8, but like if you kill a buck, you've got to kill a doe. You can only kill like 2 bucks, and if you kill a buck, you've got to kill a doe before you can kill another buck. I never go to my limit, my season, and it's 2 a day. You can kill 2 a day, but you have to have the first one checked in and out of the woods before you kill the other one to be legal. And yeah, that's but I am quite sure that that is what has brought that about. Because it used to be like, yeah, that's a lot of deer, especially for West Virginia, where it seems like everybody and their brother deer hunts, at least during rifle season. And we've got so many different seasons this year. You've got bow season that comes in at like the end of October, or no, middle of October, I think it was this year. I don't bow hunt, so I don't. And then you've had like a bunch of, a couple of youth hunts and some doe seasons only before. You got like one doe season only, like 5 days before the main like open season came in, which comes in the week of Thanksgiving, and then that was like 2 weeks long of open season, buck or doe, and then we had another like 3 or 4 day doe only season, and then you just had muzzleloader season, I believe, just ended, and then there will be a deer season that's doe only for like another 3 or 4 days right after Christmas. No, that's my opinion anyway. And then in January, they do what's called a Mountaineer Heritage Hunt, which you can take a buck, or you can take a deer, or a turkey, or a black bear. But it has to be with either a side lock muzzle loader that's either, it can be percussion cap or flintlock. So like basically one of the old Daniel Boone kind of guns. You can't have any of these inline muzzle loaders, and there can't be an optic on it. Or you can do it with a recurve or longbow. So kind of getting back to Mountaineer Heritage, but that season, I personally think it's too late in the year, because the does, like the the fawns have already started forming at that point, and you're wiping out another generation, albeit no more than you would be killing a doe that's already been bred in November, but it's still, it kind of not something you want to cut. You don't want to have to cut open a doe. Or I think it would kind of mess with me. You cut open a doe and there's a little fawn still inside. Like, I don't think that's for me. I have never eaten bear either, and I probably never will. I've heard it is very greasy, and there's like a very specific way to prepare it where it doesn't taste bad. But I personally, it's just not something for me. And I love wild turkey. Like turkey is delicious. Now, like farm raised turkey, it's good. If I raised it, I probably would enjoy it better. But when it's actual wild turkey like that, oh man, that's delicious. Um, but yeah, it's just I haven't found too much out there that I like better than deer meat. Um, and I eat deer meat a lot. Like pretty much the only meat that I. Okay, am I back? Yes, we are back. Okay. There, the timer's going again. I don't know what happened, but yeah, I wouldn't either. A couple years ago, I saw some pictures on my father-in-law his game cameras, where he had a feeder set up on my property because he was hunting on my property, and he had feeder, game cameras, the whole 9 yards set up on it. And the bear got in and just destroyed his feeder, knocked it over, destroyed it, ate all the corn out of it. A pretty decent sized black bear. Um, but they're not really a hindrance to the whitetail population. The coyotes are the big problem out here. But neither one of them are anything that I really have any desire to eat. You kind of like eating a possum or a raccoon. Like, really don't have any desire to eat those. Although I do have some cookbooks that have recipes for how to prepare possum. We do not here. I think some southern parts of the state have wild boar, but they are not around here. Or I certainly haven't seen them or heard of anybody seeing them. But don't worry, they're coming. I'm sure. They're spreading from down south. Um, but there are apparently, rumor has it, there are some buffalo around here supposedly that supposedly somebody in this general area had tried to start a buffalo farm to raise, and sell buffalo meat, and a lot of the buffalo got loose, and he didn't find them. But buffalo are native to this area. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, domestic pigs can always escape, and actually, I was watching something on it years and years ago. It's pretty amazing how quickly that domestic pigs will go feral. Like, and their body physically changes when they go feral. Um, and it's pretty amazing. In fact, they were saying that they think that Hogzilla that they killed down south, at like 600-pound hog or whatever it was. Um, they think what it probably was it was a domestic pig that had already gone feral and had been eating that guy's high protein catfish food. Um, and that's how he got to be so big. But it's just hard to tell. It's just hard to tell about all that. You know, I would have the same attitude for wild hogs as I do for possums and raccoons that are getting near my chicken coop. Um, Shoot them, leave them for the buzzards, and that was actually kind of you know because like I can kill like those kinds of things for damage to livestock. Yeah, no. I have to start holding the phone to plug it in. I need to get me one of them little stands for my phone. I'm going to be doing these live streams here. And we're back again. It's a problem with things down here. Yeah, yeah, that's something. I was watching one of these health guys, and he talks about like the amount of parasites in pork, and some of the parasites, no matter, you can cook it for a really long time, but it doesn't matter. Some of them are so resistant that they'll actually survive being cooked. It's absolutely insane. Uh, so, I mean, if a person was going to eat a pig, they would probably be better off eating a wild one. But I just don't eat pig anymore. Uh, nah, I'll stick with deer meat, and if I know where it came from, beef and chicken, yeah, I am absolutely fine.
sweet country girl. I am perfectly fine. Well, I'm recovering from a little bit of the croup, but it's no big deal. Um, oh goodness, getting a little. That good. I have eaten rabbit as well. I've actually have thought about raising them. I've been talking about this for years, um, and I don't know if I ever actually will, but I've thought about raising rabbit, but specifically for dog and now cat food because I have a cat. Um, and so I have thought about doing that. I've talked about doing that, and maybe one of these days I will. Um, but I haven't yet. Um, oh goodness. But yeah, we I don't know. I was probably 11 or 12, and of course, when I was growing up, rabbits were kind of scarce, honestly. Um, and we tried rabbit hunting some, but rabbits were kind of scarce. There was a lot of red-tailed hawks, and they kind of do that whole cycle where you get the hawks get really populous because the rabbits are populous, and then they kill off all the rabbits, and then the hawks start to die off, and then the rabbits come back, and then the hawks come back, and the circle of life continues. But I went out there, yeah. Oh goodness, I'm getting to have some like connection issues here. Uh, Goodness, but let me see if I can maybe see how that works there. All right, well, we'll see how long it lasts. Alrighty, man. Uh, yeah, you take her easy. I think the internet is going to tell me it's time to get off of here anyway. It's I'm starting to have some connection issues, so you take her easy. I've been on here for almost an hour, so I reckon I'm gonna get off of here as well. Everybody that's watching, y'all take her easy. Have a good evening. I'm going to get out of here, and God bless y'all.